Dragons have groomers and pedos. And all this lore is coming from the mating manual. Covers the world lore for my mangas, which are based on my D&D game. So let's move away from anatomy for a minute and talk about society. Because of a bunch of historical events, such as when Igni first came to the planet, he's the spirit of fire and metal, which is like if Mother Nature broke up into different aspects and was effectively a god. And whenever he landed upon the world, the red dragons were like, yo, we got some beat. And they basically went to go challenge Igni to topple him as the greatest red dragon. That did not work out. He pretty much pushed the red dragons into extinction, grabbed his final clutch of eggs from an elder dragon, and then ended up raising the last clutch of red dragons. In the process, he ended up making Mount Moltra one of the dragon havens to ensure that his kids would have a safe place, because on the other side of the coin, mortals were hunting dragons for magical components. It wasn't just red dragons that were in trouble, it was all dragons. And so out of that time of crisis, there were 3 dragon havens constructed. The first one was Mount Moltra. Then you have a protectorate of Mount Moltra called Castellan, which was created after the dwarves moved into Mount Moltra, and half of the dragons were like, we don't want to share our home with a bunch of dwarves. So they left, things didn't go well. So when they came back, Igni gave them a little spot that would later become Castellan, one of the dragon havens, and years later, dragons would stumble upon Cypher's holy domain, and she would give them the catacombs of her holy city that would be later named Aristus. Now that we got historical context out of the way, it is super important to know that each of the dragon havens have their own culture. Like Castellan is a very dragon-first type of society. Because of the laws that go around that dragon-first policy, it's considered a species-barred society. Meaning if you're not a dragon, you're basically a second-class citizen. But whenever we talk dragon-specific policy, when it comes to dating and mating, there's a couple ways to do it. And the first method is called buzzing, which is a term for dragons just happening to stumble upon each other and start casually dating. There are 3 social gates you have to get through, but that's a video for another day. We're interested in overlordship. When it comes to dragon development, you have 6 different stages. You have hatchling, fledgling, juvenile, adult, elder, and ancient. And because of dragons' natural tendency to hoard, want to develop, and strategically think long term, when it comes to dating and mating, it is a very strategic thing for them. Love is kind of secondary in a lot of cases, specifically for older and more established dragons, because they want only the best to carry on their bloodline. So Castellan came up with the concept of overlordship, which is effectively when a dragon is born, a kind of a report is sent out. And older or more established dragons have the ability to look through that list and say, okay, I want to sponsor this, and this dragon. And it is not gender locked, so women can be overlords as well. And so what happens is when they're a hatchling and they're going to the academy, they offer them money, they offer them resources, they offer them camps to help develop this young dragon, because remember, it's an investment in the future. They don't get to actually meet the dragon until they become a juvenile. And whenever they become a juvenile, they actually get to mentor the dragon. And this is where they get to pass on their knowledge, their skills, but understand they cannot have sex with the juvenile, as prescribed by the Castellan Dragon Development Manual, or considered canon. This also covers a bunch of other things you cannot do with the juvenile. Once they become a juvenile, they actually lose a little bit of agency, because as a lordship, you can send them to, let's say, a camp, and they have to go to the camp. And once they become an adult, the way it works is they have to date every single significant overlord for 6 months. And it starts with a person who contributed the most and works its way down that list. Now, at this time, they have to date them, but they don't have to sleep with them. And they cannot choose to stay with the overlord until they've gone through the full rotation of all the overlords that have earned their right to date this dragon. And once it's all said and done, then and only then can that dragon choose to be with an overlord or choose to not be with any of them. Legally, the dragon has no obligation to sleep with them, breed with them, or continue dating any of the overlords. It's the overlord's job to convince that adult dragon that they are the right choice to either breed or soul meld with. And soul meld is kind of like being married, but a lot more significant. While there is not any legal repercussions for turning down overlords, there are some social stigmas that go along with saying no to being with one of your overlords. So in Castellan, which is one of the 3 dragon havens that have their own culture, grooming is a very standard part of dating if you have the resources and are old enough to do it. In terms of dragons that actually end up in couples, 26% of them meet through overlordship, and of those 26%, 95 of them pick some type of relationship with their overlord. Now, out of that 95%, it's important to remember that 73% of them only choose to either impregnate or be impregnated by their overlord, not date them. We got the sample of the mating manual for the Dragon Haven, and the Darklings are finished. We'll go ahead and grab our Ruby Gold sub to look at it, or get a diamond to get an original character in the lore.